If someone told me my biggest relationship issue would come from a few old photos buried deep in a USB stick, I would have laughed. But here I am, blindsided by something I thought was long gone, literally deleted. What started as a normal week turned into a mess of accusations, broken trust, and one unsettling question I can't shake. How far is too far? It started with a strange shift in Emily's tone the night I came home from work. Nothing dramatic, just different. A little too quiet, a little too composed. I asked if everything was okay, and she nodded, but her eyes didn't match her words. Something was off. I brushed it aside, figuring she'd had a rough day. I didn't know that mine was about to get worse. Later that evening, while I was changing out of my work clothes, she brought up something out of the blue. "So, who's the girl in the red dress?" she asked, not looking at me. I paused, confused. "What girl?" She pulled out one of my old USB sticks and waved it like a weapon. From this, it hit me like a sucker punch. That USB hadn't been touched in years, maybe more. I used to keep old work files, photos, and random stuff on it. I had no idea what was even still on there, let alone what she might have seen. "I don't know," I said carefully, walking toward her. "Where did you get that?" "I found it in the drawer," she replied, crossing her arms. "You didn't think to delete the photos of your exes before marrying me?" I was stunned. It took me a second to register what she was saying. "Emily, those files were deleted. That drive was practically empty. Did you run a recovery program on it?" She didn't answer right away. Her silence said enough. "You went through my private stuff, and then dug up things I had already let go of?" I asked, trying to stay calm. But I could feel the anger rising in my chest. "It's not like you were hiding it well," she snapped. "What else was I supposed to think when I see you smiling like that with someone else?" "They were normal pictures," I replied. "Nothing inappropriate, nothing I was trying to keep. Just a part of my past. A past you already knew existed." But logic wasn't working. Her voice started to shake, not with sadness, but with frustration. "You looked happy with them. Like, genuinely happy. And now I can't stop thinking about it. Like I'm just your second choice." My stomach twisted. I wanted to reach out, to reassure her, but all I could think about was the breach of trust. It wasn't just the photos. It was the fact that she went behind my back, again. You see, this wasn't the first time. A year ago, she went through my phone while I was in the shower. Read my messages, scrolled through my pictures. We fought then too. I told her clearly, privacy matters. If there's no trust, there's no relationship. She apologized back then, swore she wouldn't do it again. But here we were. Again. The worst part? I haven't done anything wrong. I've never cheated, never even flirted with the idea. I've poured everything I have into our marriage, and still, somehow, I was being punished for a life I had before her. A life I'd left behind. And now, instead of facing her actions, she was blaming me. Not for what I did, because I didn't do anything, but for the fact that I had a past. For being human. As I lay in bed that night, her back turned to me. I kept replaying the conversation in my mind. The violation. The accusation. The cold silence between us. I realized something painful. This wasn't just about an old USB stick. This was about trust. And once that cracks, it doesn't go away quietly. The next morning, the tension was still thick in the air. Emily moved around the kitchen like a stranger, silent, guarded, robotic. I sat at the table, nursing my coffee, watching her pour cereal into a bowl like it was some task she couldn't wait to finish. No words. No eye contact. I wanted to break the silence, but I didn't know how. Or even if I should. "You still upset?" I asked quietly. She didn't look up. Why wouldn't I be? I set the mug down, the sound louder than I intended. "Because what you did wasn't okay, Emily. You went through my things again. That's not just crossing a line, it's lighting it on fire." Her shoulders tensed, but she kept her back to me. I had a feeling, okay? Something didn't sit right. So I checked. And guess what? I was right. "You've been in love before." I stared at her, stunned. "Of course I have. I've lived before. That doesn't mean I love you any less now. You knew I wasn't a blank slate when we met." She turned then, a sharp, voice trembling. "It's not about the pictures, Noah. It's how happy you looked. Carefree. Like she was your person. And now I see you coming home tired, distracted, distant sometimes, and I wonder if I'm just someone you settled for." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. "Settled?" I asked, standing up. "Do you even hear yourself right now? You went digging into my past, saw something you didn't understand, and now you're rewriting the story of our whole relationship." Her eyes brimmed with tears, but she didn't let them fall. You think I wanted to feel this way? That I enjoy this? I didn't plan to snoop. No, I saw the drive, and curiosity got the better of me. You planned enough to install a damn recovery program, I said bitterly. That wasn't a slip of curiosity, that was a decision. A conscious one. She looked away, jaw clenched. So what now? You going to act like the victim? I am the victim, Emily, I said, my voice softer but no less firm. You don't trust me. You violated my privacy. Again. And now, instead of taking responsibility, you're making this about my past like I betrayed you. That was the moment she finally broke. I don't know how to not feel insecure, okay, she said, voice cracking. I see how confident your exes were, how light things looked between you and them. And I wonder why I always feel like I'm one wrong step away from being left. My heart ached hearing that. I hadn't known. Not fully. I had seen glimpses of insecurity before, sure, but not like this. Not the depth of it. It explained some things. But it didn't excuse what she did. I've never given you a reason to think I'd leave, I said gently. But that doesn't mean you get to test me like this. We're supposed to build trust together, not test it by digging through each other's lives. She sat down slowly, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I didn't know how to ask you about it without sounding crazy. So you chose to invade my privacy instead? I asked. She looked at her hands, ashamed. I don't know how to fix this. Neither did I. All I knew was something had cracked between us. And no matter how much we might want to patch it up, some breaks leave scars too deep to ignore. The rest of the day passed in fragments. We stayed in the same house, under the same roof, but it felt like we were on different planets. I spent most of it in the den, pretending to watch a game I couldn't even follow, while Emily stayed holed up in the bedroom. Occasionally, I'd hear her walking around, opening drawers, shuffling papers. No words. No attempts at conversation. I wanted to believe she was thinking things through, maybe realizing how deeply she'd hurt me. But part of me also feared she was just digging deeper into the same hole, trying to justify what she'd done. That fear kept me on edge. Around 9 p.m., she finally emerged. Her hair was tied up, eyes tired, face pale. She stood by the doorway like a kid who knew they were in trouble. Noah, she said quietly, can we talk? I muted the TV and nodded. She sat beside me, but didn't look at me. Just stared straight ahead, hands clasped in her lap. I've been thinking all day. About everything. And I owe you an apology. That word, apology, should have been a relief. But instead, it felt hollow. Like it wasn't enough. Like it had come too late. I crossed a line, she continued. I let my insecurities get the better of me. I didn't respect your space, your boundaries. I didn't respect you. I let the silence hang for a moment before responding. You said you'd do it again, I said quietly. That's what stuck with me. That you didn't even feel bad in the moment. That you thought it was justified. She winced. I know. I said it out of defensiveness, not because I meant it. I just felt exposed. Embarrassed. Like I was caught being the jealous wife I never wanted to become. I turned to her then. Emily, this isn't about jealousy. Everyone has insecurities. We all carry baggage. But when those feelings lead you to violate the trust we've built, that's where the real damage happens. I know, she whispered. And I hate that I made you feel this way. Her voice cracked on the last word, and her eyes finally met mine. They were red-rimmed, watery. But I didn't move to comfort her. Not yet. I couldn't. Not when I still felt like the ground under me was unstable. I don't want to lose you, Noah, she said. I know I messed up. I know it's not the first time. But I don't want us to become something broken. Then you have to start respecting what us actually means, I replied. Because right now, it feels like you don't trust me, and I'm the one paying the price for it. She nodded, biting her lip like she was holding back more tears. Would you be open to couples therapy? I'm willing to go. I want to understand why I get like this. I want to stop. That caught me off guard. It wasn't something I expected her to suggest, not Emily, who always thought therapy was for people with bigger problems. I exhaled slowly, leaning back on the couch. I'm open to it, but not as a magic fix. You have to be serious about this. Not just for me, but for yourself, too. I am, she said quickly. I swear, I am. For the first time that day, I believed her. Not fully, not with certainty, but enough to keep the door from closing. Maybe we were still standing on shaky ground, but at least now, we were facing the same direction. Still, part of me couldn't shake the truth. Sometimes love isn't tested by what we fight against, but by what we're willing to do after the fight ends. The first therapy session was quiet. Too quiet. Emily and I sat on the small couch, barely an inch between us, but feeling miles apart. The therapist, Dana, was calm and professional, her voice low and even, the kind of tone that makes you feel like nothing is too big to say out loud. She didn't push us at first, just asked questions, let the silence do some of the work. Emily did most of the talking that day. She spoke about her past, about always feeling like she was second best, how she had been compared to her older sister her whole life, always chasing validation that never came. How she worried that if someone saw her too clearly, flaws and all, they'd walk away. I listened quietly. Part of me felt for her, truly. I could see the little girl in her words, the ache to be enough. But another part of me, one I wasn't proud of, felt tired. Exhausted, even. Because understanding her pain didn't erase mine. When it was my turn, I kept it simple. I said I felt betrayed. That I wasn't sure if I could fully trust her again. That it scared me how easy it had become for her to justify breaking boundaries. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I think that worried her more than anything, that I was calm, detached, measured. After the session, we sat in the car in silence. The engine idled. Neither of us moved to start driving. Finally, she spoke. "Do you hate me now?" I turned to her. "No, I don't hate you, Em. But you don't look at me the same." "I'm trying to," I said, voice low. But something shifted. I don't know how to explain it. It's like part of me is standing outside of us now, watching from a distance. She nodded slowly, tears building again. "I wish I could take it back. I wish you hadn't done it in the first place." We drove home with the windows cracked and the radio low, the quiet hum of life trying to return to normal. Over the next few weeks, we kept going to therapy. Emily kept opening up. I saw sides of her I hadn't seen before. Vulnerable, honest, self-aware. She was really trying, and I wanted to meet her halfway. I wanted to believe we could come out of this stronger. That maybe this was one of those messy chapters couples go through and survive. But something strange happened. I started pulling away. Not on purpose. Not out of revenge. Just naturally. My walls were up, and I didn't know how to bring them back down. Little things she did, checking her phone a little too quickly, getting quiet when I walked in the room, started triggering that old feeling again. Doubt. Suspicion. And the worst part? She wasn't doing anything wrong anymore. It was me. That's what no one tells you. When trust breaks, it doesn't just rebuild itself. Even with apologies. Even with therapy. Sometimes it stays cracked, no matter how much glue you pour into the space between you. I wasn't angry anymore. Just cautious. Emotionally distant. And I think Emily felt it, even if she didn't say it out loud. One night, she asked, "Are we going to be okay?" I didn't answer right away, because I honestly didn't know. Emily didn't push when I didn't answer her that night. She just nodded to herself, almost like she already knew the truth, and walked off to the bedroom. I sat there on the couch for a long time, staring at nothing, wondering how we'd gotten here, from laughter in the kitchen and spontaneous weekend road trips to this quiet, lonely stalemate between two people who once couldn't get enough of each other. Over the following days, things between us became painfully polite. We were careful with our words, overly considerate, like roommates navigating a lease they weren't sure they wanted to renew. The warmth was gone, replaced by this awkward gentleness that felt more like guilt than love. We still went to therapy. We still cooked dinner together. But there was a hollow rhythm to everything. Then came the night I found the envelope. It was sitting on the kitchen counter when I came home, my name written in Emily's handwriting across the front. I stared at it for a moment, my heart thudding in my chest. I didn't open it right away. I walked through the house first, checked the bedroom, the closets. Her things were still there, mostly. But something about the air felt final. When I finally opened the envelope, there was no dramatic confession, no blame. Just a letter that made my throat tighten with every line. "Noah, I've been trying to fix what I broke, and maybe I waited too long to truly understand how deep the damage went. I thought love would be enough. I thought if I worked hard enough, you'd come back to me, not physically, but emotionally. But I see it in your eyes now. You're here, but you're not really here. And I don't blame you. What I did was wrong. It was invasive, controlling, hurtful, and no amount of apologies can change how that made you feel. I told myself that I could earn your trust again, but maybe what I need to do is stop trying to drag you through the pain just because I'm scared of being alone. So I'm stepping away. Not to give up, but to give you space. If we're meant to find our way back to each other, it shouldn't come from pressure or guilt. It should come from choice. Thank you for loving me the way you did. I'm sorry for not protecting that love better. Emily, I sat at the table with the letter in my hand, the silence around me suddenly louder than ever. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just felt still, as if a storm had passed, leaving behind nothing but debris and clear skies. That weekend, she left. Took just a few bags, told me through a text that she'd be staying with a friend for a while. There was no dramatic goodbye, no tearful scene, just space. And oddly, that space didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like relief. I think we both realized something important. Sometimes love isn't about holding on no matter what. Sometimes it's about recognizing when the damage has become the story, when the hurt overshadows the healing. I loved Emily. I probably still do, in some quiet corner of my heart. But I also love my peace, my sense of self, the trust one worked hard to carry into our marriage. And right now, walking away feels less like failure and more like self-respect. Some endings don't come with explosions. Some just slip in like a slow sunset, quiet and natural. And when they do, you learn to stop chasing what was and start listening to what your heart needs now. What would you do if someone you loved violated your trust not once, but twice, and then blamed you for the past you left behind? Do you think trust can ever fully be rebuilt, or are some cracks too deep to seal? I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you felt something while listening to this story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It lets me know you're with me, that I'm not alone in this. Your support means more than you know. Let's talk about it, because healing starts with being heard.